To our colleagues who join us from on the ground, we have Radhika Ramaswamy joining us live from Mumbai, Purnima joining us from Chennai, as well as Stacey Pereira who joins us live from Bengaluru. Starting with you first, Radhika, Maharashtra has become the first state to cross the 1 lakh count, with now every third case in the country being reported from the state of Maharashtra.
Absolutely, the numbers are worrying. Yesterday it touched 3,400. It's been hovering around the 3,000 figure over the last couple of days. And finally, 1,01,000 is where the cases stand at as far as the state of Maharashtra is concerned. Also, yesterday we saw more than 120 deaths, of which 90 is from the city of Mumbai alone. And therefore, the number of deaths in the state of Maharashtra is more than 3,700, which is a cause of concern for sure. And besides that, of course, Mumbai cases hovering around 1,300, 400 daily, and it has touched 55,000 now. The city of Mumbai has touched 55,000. So yes, the numbers are worrying. It has not shown any signs of reduction whatsoever, barring a few places in the city of Mumbai or in the state of Maharashtra where there has been some sort of flattening the curve, like for instance Dharavi or Worli, Koliwada. Apart from that, there hasn't been any sort of reduction. In fact, the containment zones, problem areas are only increasing by the day. But, as a ray of hope, of course, 47,000 recoveries have happened so far. And, the active cases in the state of Maharashtra stands at 49,000. But what is worrying is that the medical infrastructure is completely strained and overstretched. 99% ICU beds and critical care beds are occupied. More than 90% hospital beds treating severe COVID patients are also occupied. So therefore, if the numbers continue, then the hospitals may not be able to take the load. Then the situation will only worsen, because the beds that are augmented in the city hospitals or in the state hospitals are not proportional to the rise that we are seeing on an everyday basis. So that is worrying. Of course, more than 5,79,000 tests have been conducted in the state of Maharashtra. Not there that many increase in the tests actually. When you look at the previous month's testing also, it's 12 to 14,000 on an average. And Mumbai also, the testing numbers haven't been increased that much. But despite that, the number of cases are on a rise. It is worrying. So therefore, we do not see that many relaxations to happen. Whatever relaxation was witnessed in Mumbai or in the state of Maharashtra, we see a lot of traffic, a lot of crowding around. So there is a possibility that it may be revoked for all you know. But we don't see that many relaxations, or that many opening up, at least in the next couple of weeks in the state of Maharashtra, simply because of the surge in the number of cases.
All right, so the existing relaxations might be revoked in the state, taking into account the surge in cases. Stay on with us, Radhika. Let's also bring in Sneha Murdani, who tracks the health ministry for us. Sneha, there have been a couple of changes in terms of the hotspots, in terms of the cities most affected. For example, Bhopal is no longer in the top 15. It has been replaced by Gurugram. Are there any other trends that you've observed?
Yes, what's also really happened, and this is important, the case positivity rate in India has gone up. The national average has gone up, which means that we have more positive cases. If you do the comparison between the number of patients being tested, the number of samples being tested, and what's the positivity rate. So it's close to 8%. Until April, it was round about 3.5 to 4%. Then it increased to 4.5% beginning of May. It's almost touching 8% now. So that's an indication. The other indication is that there are emerging hotspots really in the country, and this is something that has been spoken about at the crucial meeting the day before yesterday also, that was held by the cabinet secretary with representatives of various states. And we've been given to understand that there are emerging hotspots in the country that need to be looked at. These are places where cases are slowly increasing, and a pattern of increase in case is being witnessed in many of these places. And this usually, and looking at the number of cities that have in fact been included in this list, it includes places in Gujarat, in Madhya Pradesh, in Maharashtra, 2 or 3 in Haryana. We have, for example, Gurgaon and Faridabad in Haryana. We have 1 or 2 places. We have Kulgam in Jammu and Kashmir as well. We have Vadodara and Gujarat, for example. So it's generally the western belt of the country, the central belt, where we are seeing emergence of new hotspots. There are a couple of places in down south as well. Like I mentioned, these are the places which could become potential hotspots, and that essentially is being seen. In talking about testing in the country, that continues to get increased, that continues to go up. We have tested more than 55 lakh samples until today. We are in a position of testing close to 2 lakh samples on a daily basis, but what we're testing is roughly about 1,40,000 to 1,50,000. Last 24 hours, we tested approximately 1,45,000 samples. So this also continues to be on the rise. There are exceptions. Apart from this is RT-PCR testing. We know that the government is also in the process of doing random sampling, using the Sero survey, using the ELISA test method. So this again continues to be done by the government at various levels. It's an ongoing process, is what the Indian Council of Medical Research says. The focus has to be on cities, urban centers, rural areas, not of concern at all. Social distancing easier, bringing infection under control easier in rural areas, spread of infection transmission rates much lower, given the fact that the density of population is much lower. These are signs that the government is observing in the last few days and weeks, Vandana.
All right, stay on with us, Sneha. Let's also go across to Stacey Pereira, who joins us from Bengaluru for more details. Say, Stacey, the Karnataka government has indicated that experts have told them that there's expected to be a surge in cases post the 15th of August. How is the government preparing to deal with that?
Well, absolutely. In fact, even in the past 2 weeks, we've seen a huge number of cases. While most of this have been people who have returned from other states, there is now a growing concern among people here with comorbidities, showing influenza-like illnesses and cases of SARI. Now, most of the cases from Bengaluru per se are people who have actually have contracted the diseases only through having these other comorbidities, and which is why this has kept the government on the edge. They want to try and go ahead and test all persons who are showing these kind of symptoms. Now, whether this is something that they're going to discuss with the Prime Minister also remains to be seen, but the government is definitely of the view that they want to go ahead and do something like this. They're already conducting a survey of persons here, at least in Bengaluru city, to see what they're actually, to get these persons tested. So besides that, here in Bengaluru, yes, the number of cases going on the rise. Yesterday itself, there were 36 cases from Bengaluru city. We are looking at the total cases of 6,000, over 6,000 here in Karnataka of this. Well, like the glimmer of hope has been that of the recoveries. We have seen 3,440 recoveries so far, and the total number of active cases are just 2,995 at this point. So that just being a little glimmer of hope, but it's not really converting into that sense of caution that also needs to be maintained, because remember, Karnataka has definitely opened up quite a bit. There are enough of relaxations that have been given. People are going back to work, one would say. So that given these relaxations also in place, whether there is a cause of increased concern now, especially in metro cities like Bengaluru, that is something that the government needs to take a further call on, whether these relaxations are actually working, or they need to then start putting in curbs again. So that is one contention that the government is also looking into. But yes, there are relaxations, but at the same time also growing number of cases here in Bengaluru as well as in Karnataka.
All right, let's also bring in Poonima, who joins us from Chennai for more details. Poonima, Tamil Nadu becoming the second state in the country to confirm 40,000 positive cases. How is the Tamil Nadu government planning to deal with this?
Well, the Tamil Nadu government has appointed a new health secretary yesterday in the midst of the spike in Chennai and 3 other neighboring districts for the last 10 days. The state government says that they are now looking at hyper-local containment measures, wherein in Chennai there are zones where the spike has been consistent for the last 1 month. So those are the areas where there will be hyper-local containment measures to ensure that the spike does not increase. The next 1 month, the state government says, is going to be very crucial. And they say that while the state government is trying all means to contain the spread of virus, they are also urging the people to follow protocol, because many people, they say, are not wearing masks or maintaining social distancing. So that again is one challenge. They say that for the next 1 month, people should also continue to follow protocol to ensure that the state government, along with the people, contain the spread of the virus. But for the next 1 month, the spike is likely to continue, is what the state government is predicting.
All right. Thank you, Radhika, Poonima, as well as Stacey, for joining us from your respective cities. Now moving on and focusing on Delhi, the national capital is in the thick of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, with spiraling cases, lack of proper facilities and doctors agitating over salaries, we thought that we had seen the worst. Not quite. Take a look at this report, which exposes more horrors from hospitals in the capital.
Rising corona numbers, patients running from pillar to post for beds, apathy. We thought we had heard it all. But the ordeal of two Delhi families is more horrifying than anything we have heard so far. On 6th of June, Santram passed away at Delhi's LNJP hospital after running from one hospital to the other as he increasingly became breathless. His family says Santram found little support at LNJP. His son transferred him from a stretcher to a bed, hunted for oxygen support and for doctors. But the worst was yet to come. Santram's body was shown to his family on the 7th morning, wrapped in a body bag and sent for cremation to Nigambodh Ghat.
बॉडी लाके हमने अपना चिता पे रख दी। अब उन पंडित जी को बोला, पंडित जी थोड़ा आके दर्शन करा दीजिए, हमारे घर से रिलेटिव्स आए हुए हैं। उन्होंने बिल्कुल स्ट्रिक्टली मना कर दिया कि सर फीस नहीं दिखाया जा सकता। हम लोग आधे रास्ते में पहुंचे थे, मेरे पास हॉस्पिटल से कॉल आया कि आपने अंतिम संस्कार कर दिया है क्या? मैंने जी मैम हमने कर दिया। फिर सर कंफ्यूजन है कुछ, आप जल्दी जाइए उधर वापस और वहाँ एक बार कंफर्म कीजिए क्योंकि एम्बुलेंस में बॉडी पड़ी हुई है। वापस गए तो पता चला मेरे फादर की बॉडी वहीं पे ही है।
At the same Nigambodh Ghat, Meera Devi's son and daughter were running from one ambulance to the other, trying to locate their mother's body. The family says on 4th of June, their mother Meera Devi had complained of headache and they had taken her to Malviya Nagar Hospital, from where she was sent to LNJP.
वहाँ पे उन्होंने मेरे को RML हॉस्पिटल के लिए बोला कि आप वहाँ जाओ, उनका एक टेस्ट होगा। जो कागज वगैरह थे वो उन्होंने डॉक्टरों ने एम्बुलेंस के ड्राइवर को दिए, हमें नहीं दिए। अब जो वहाँ गए तो एम्बुलेंस के ड्राइवर हमें LNJP हॉस्पिटल लेकर चला गया। और वहाँ के डॉक्टरों ने क्या करा, उनको लेकर सीधा अंदर लेकर चले गए और वहाँ पे उनको 2 घंटे रखा। मैं भी उनके साथ था, पर उनका कोई टेस्ट नहीं किया, कुछ नहीं किया।
From 4th to 6th June, Mukesh, Meera Devi's son, says he ran from one doctor to the other, trying to locate his mother, but all in vain. His repeated request for discharge was ignored. Even calls to PCR and Chief Minister's office to rescue his mother went unanswered. Finally, on 6th, he was told his mother was no more. Mukesh claims his mother was never tested for COVID, but doctors said she had died of coronavirus.
मुझे कह रहे कि तुम वहाँ जाओ निगमबोध घाट, हम वहीं आएंगे। जब हम वहाँ गए तो हम ढूंढ रहे थे, एक गाड़ी खड़ी थी वहाँ पे, तो उसमें एक थे, उनका नाम संतराम दिख रहा था। तो वो कह रहा मेरे से ड्राइवर, ये तुम्हारी मम्मी है। मैंने बोला मेरी मम्मी तो नहीं है ये। मैंने बोला चेहरा दिखाओ, तो चेहरा नहीं दिखा रहा। कह रहा चेहरा नहीं दिखाते। उसके बाद मैं हॉस्पिटल गया, मैंने ऐसे से उन्होंने बोला आप तो कह रहे हो कि मेरी मम्मी को वहाँ भेज रखा है, मेरी मम्मी तो वहाँ पे है ही नहीं। उसके बाद वो कहते हैं कि हमारी मम्मी को किसी और ने वो कर दिया,
क्रिमेट कर दिया।
हाँ।
For these two families, there's no closure even after the ordeal that they have gone through. Santaram's family feels guilty that they became the reason why Meera Devi was denied a proper cremation. And for her family, they are still in complete shock. And these are not isolated incidents. Like the Supreme Court of India observed, for Delhi COVID patients who are dying, even the basic dignity in death is being denied. With Ravinder Kumar and PK Das, this is Arunima.
Now a quick look at some other stories from across the country. Army Chief General M.M. Naravane reviewed the prestigious passing out parade of 423 officers, including 90 gentlemen cadets from 9 friendly foreign countries at the Indian Military Academy in Dehradun. 333 officers will be joining the Indian Army today after the parade. All precautionary measures were taken during the parade and cadets were seen wearing masks. It will also be the first time that parents and relatives of the gentlemen cadets were not invited to attend the event in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. A 97-year-old man from Kaveri Hospital in Chennai, Krishnamurthy, has recovered from coronavirus. The local authorities said that recuperation has come as a ray of hope for the novel coronavirus patients. The 1923-born man was admitted at the hospital on the 30th of May after being tested positive for the virus. In order to intensify the screening and surveillance on passengers, the Railway Protection Force of Pune launched on Friday an automated robotic Captain Arjun. Now, this robot was launched to screen passengers while they board trains, along with keeping a watch on the antisocial elements present on the railway station. On that note, it's a wrap on the show. Thank you for watching. Time for a quick break, but lots more on the other side. Stay tuned.